Shalom, everybody. What's up? Welcome back to Reading with SHILO. Part 6. It's part 6 of Reading with SHILO. We back at it. Like I said, we good be. We back there, man. I had to go put on a shirt and some pants and some sweatpants. But we back at it. This is part 6 of Miss GWENDOLYN MIDLO Hall's book, Africans in Colonial, Louisiana, man. We made it to chapter 3. We made it to chapter 3 in the last reading session. We read for about an hour. We're going to read for about an hour again. Chapter 3 is called Death and Revolt, the French Slave Trade. Man, we at it. We up and at it. Man, hold up. We in here. We got some shit to learn, man. We are trying to learn. And as long as we have breath to breathe, then we have all you need to succeed, my people. We got all we need to succeed. And sometimes it only takes the little things, like reading, burning down the plantations we have built in our mind, learning new things, opening our horizons to some new shit. To some new shit. And a lot of times that's going to take some reading sometimes, because you can't believe everything you hear. You cannot believe everything you hear. People will say this and that and don't know jack. So I ain't been reading the last 2 days. I've been busy, man. I've been really busy, and I apologize for that. Not for being busy, but for not reading, man. I've been so tired after I've done what I needed to do, which I accomplished. I accomplished what I needed to accomplish, but I didn't accomplish the reading. So we're going to do that today. We're going to accomplish some reading today. We're going to read for about an hour. And since I'm feeling better today, man, we're going to pick the routine back up, work your body, work your mind, and work your body again. But I'm not going to do much. My body's still tired. And boy, my body's still tired. But I need to move a little bit. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. So I'm going to do 100 jumping jacks today. That's as most as I'm going to do. 100 jumping jacks, and maybe even, I might, I'm feeling it. I might do 50 push-ups. I might do 50. We'll see how it go. We'll see how it goes. We're going to do 100 jumping jacks for sure. And then we're going to get right into reading. And then we're going to get right into reading so we can go ahead and see what Miss GWENDOLYN is talking about in this historical book, or what she claims to be. I don't want to say she claims to be, but what it seems she was trying to produce was a historical book. And I think this book is something, I still haven't done the research on it necessarily, but I think this book is something that they may have used, because I believe this comes from LSU. This might be a class. This might be a class that they take, or a book that they use in the classes that they take. Definitely something that has to be studied and looked into more, because there's a lot of dates and names that you can dive into to see what else is going on in them periods, as well as who the people were and what else they did. So right now, the last chapter, we were going into how they were getting a lot of slaves from out of Senegambia, the different type of slaves that they were getting there, or so say getting there, what characteristics these slaves had, and how the French could not maintain Louisiana at all because of the money it took, and they did not want to send the good people, or the so-called good people. They sent the prisoners and the prostitutes and the degenerates. They sent the degenerates, and the degenerates were dying off. At one point, they even gave them a 20-year, if you want to, instead of going to prison, you can go do 20 years in Louisiana. So Louisiana became a prison state or a prison colony, you could say. They were fighting the Indians that were, or the natives that were already down here, as well as using them to fight other natives and try to make them allies and use the enemy of my enemy is my friend tactic. So we'll see what chapter 3 has to say in Death and Revolt, the French slave trade to Louisiana. So when you come on in, I appreciate whoever liked it. Like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your people, man, SHILO out here reading shit, man. We're gonna be doing shit, learning shit, growing shit, building shit, exploring some shit, man. Renewing some shit, hopefully, and being better. The objective is to be better. And if not just for us, then for the ones that come after us, like our children. Be better, be a better example. Set a better example. They already say us copper colored people don't read, so I'm gonna prove them wrong by reading and getting better at reading. Shalom, Harper. Shalom, Kate Kister. Kate Kister. Shalom. Shalom, Miracle Wiley. Shalom. Welcome everybody. Welcome. Also, if it comes across, if this is your first time to the live, if it comes across certain words that I don't know, to try to get a better understanding of what's being said, I will take the time to look it up. I've been using the Terminator a lot lately. I don't really like using the Terminator, but I will use a Terminator, or I'll go back old school, have my dictionaries. I haven't even been marking the words down, but if it's something I feel that needs to be put in a definition book, we'll take the time, write the word down, look the word up, see what the word means, try to use the definition within the sentence so that we can gain a better understanding of what's being said, so we can see what we can learn and grow from. What treasures await us in Africans in Colonial, Louisiana. So let's go ahead and get these 100 jumping jacks out the way, man. Work our body a little bit, man. Even though our body been worked all day. Oh Lord, it's been worked all day. But hey, a little bit more won't hurt. A little bit more won't hurt. And since I'm feeling up to it, let's get it out the way. We're gonna do 100. That's about all I'm gonna do. We're gonna do 100 jumping jacks and get them jumping jacks out the way, and then we're gonna move on to reading, man. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna do. 100 jumping jacks, man. I don't feel like doing a lot. So. But sometimes, even though you don't feel like doing it, man, you got to do something. Do something. Push your body. Do something. Let's go. 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 8, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 4, 5, 6, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 4, 5, 66, 67, 8, 69, 70, almost there, 71, 72, 3, 74, 75, 6, 77, 8, 9, 80, 81, 2, 83, 84, 85, 87, 88, 9, 90, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 100. Whoo, we got that out the way. Let's get it out the way. Whoo. Hey, my legs was already hurting. My legs was already hurting from all that yard working. But a little bit can help. Just a little bit. You don't have to do much. But something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing. And sometimes you got to push yourself. Push yourself. Push yourself if you want to see improvement. Push yourself. It's when you don't want to do it. It's what you do when you don't want to do it. That sometimes makes a difference. All right, let me get my breath. All right. And I didn't want to do no jumping jacks. I didn't. But it helps me. because I hate to run. I hate to run. So a little cardio, get your heart pumping, get your body moving, get off your ass and do something. Let's be better. All right, chapter 3. Let's get into it. We're going to read for about an hour. Or we're going to read up until about the hour mark. It'll be a little less than an hour reading, but we'll read to the hour mark. Let me get my highlighters and shit ready. Highlighters, pens, Terminator on go. Death and Revolt. This is part 6 of Miss Gwendolyn Midlo Hall's book, Africans in Colonial Louisiana. We're in chapter 3, Death and Revolt, the French slave trade to Louisiana. Although interest in the African slave trade was keen from the first year of the French colonization of Louisiana, few blacks were there before the first 2 slave trade ships landed from Africa in 1719. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Because I think that they would consider the natives to be black people as well, being that the so-called Africans could intermingle with them and go hide in with them. You can't hide with the people you don't look like. And in 1699, and that's why we're going to read the next book is going to be the Black Indians. That's why the next book is going to be that. And in 1699, Iberville asked permission to go to Guyana in a vessel of the king to buy slaves. And in 1709, Nicholas de La Salle asked the king to send to Louisiana each year 200 blacks of both sexes so that they could do without Indian slaves, and who only cause us trouble and from whom we receive very little service, since they are not appropriate for hard labor like the blacks. Now, Benneville proposed to exchange with the inhabitants of the French Caribbean islands 2 Indian slaves for 1 African slave. 2 for 1 deal. He wrote that a little French boat from Saint Domingo or Saint Dominic had arrived to open up the trade in Indian slaves, and he allowed them to purchase 15 and proposed that they bring black slaves to Louisiana, exchanging 2 Indian slaves for each black. Now, Benneville expressed hope that the colonial ministry would approve this trade, in which he believed would do the colonists much good. Benneville's proposition was forcefully rejected by the minister on the grounds that the inhabitants of America in general, French as well as English, do not part with their blacks unless they know them to be bad or vicious. If one wishes to follow what is practiced among the English, French ships must bring blacks to Louisiana from Africa, and the settlers of this colony must be able to pay for them either in kind or in money. No blacks, either slave or free, were listed in the 1708 census, and it appears that Benneville managed to get some black slaves for himself in 1709, and Governor Antoine de la Mothe and Sieur de Cadillac. Is that where Cadillac get his name from? Sieur de Cadillac reported that Benneville and the Artiguet sent a ship from Saint Dominic for their own benefit, and it was at the expense of the king. Now the ship, La Verge de Glace, stopped over in Havana, and under the pretext of looking for powder, and embarked several slaves. And this was the first documentary evidence of the existence of black slaves into Louisiana. And while it's likely that Benneville and others smuggled in black slaves, the number involved was probably not great. And by 1712, there were only 10 blacks in all of Louisiana. And although 7 slave trade ships had already arrived from Africa by 1721, the census dated November 24th, 1721, counted 680 blacks in the New Orleans and Mobile areas. According to this census, Benneville owned 27 of them. Now, almost all of the black slaves brought to French Louisiana came directly from Africa and arrived within about a decade, and only 1 African slave trade ship came to Louisiana after 1731. a privately financed ship that arrived from Senegal in 1743. And there were few blacks in Louisiana before the African slave trade began, and the few slaves could have come from the French West Indies. And French slave trade ships en route from Africa, Louisiana to Louisiana normally stopped off in the French islands to take on wood, water, and supplies, and to allow their cargo and crew to recover from the transatlantic journey. However, the colonists in the French West Indies were so desperate for slaves themselves that they grabbed cargoes destined for Louisiana, and the slave ship Le Philippe had orders to stop off for water in St. Dominic on its way to Louisiana. And the settlers of St. Dominic, complaining that they did not receive enough slaves, forced the captain to sell them the cargo. The Company of the West of the Indies then sent La Aurora and La Mutine to Louisiana with slaves from Senegal and with instructions to take enough supplies to go directly from Senegal to Louisiana because it would be dangerous for them to stop off in St. Dominic or Martinique, where the settlers might retain them under the pretext that they did not have enough blacks. And when La Africaine and Le Duc de Maine stopped off in Grenada for food, it was reported that Miss M. Pradine, lieutenant of the king in Grenada, forced them to exchange their best blacks for those who were old and sick. And otherwise, he refused to sell them food. And several other ships stopping at Grenada were forced to sell slaves as a condition for obtaining supplies. Now, these African slaves arrived at a crucial period in the development of French Louisiana, and New Orleans was founded in 1718. New Orleans was founded in 1718. Let's mark that. Let's see when Opelousas was founded right quick. What year was Opelousas, Louisiana founded? Opelousas, Louisiana was founded as a military garrison in 1720, and it was later incorporated as a town in 1821. The name Opelousas comes from the Opelousas Indians who lived in the area. And I believe they look like me. So Opelousas was founded in 1720, 2 years after New Orleans was founded. And we still have a lot of the Opelousas Indians, or we don't have, I mean to say, we have a Opelousas Indian or a Takapaw Indian celebration that happens down here, and a lot of them people look like me. Now, by January 1713, 22 out of the 23 slave trade ships that came from Africa while France ruled Louisiana had already arrived. And between June 1719 and January 1731, 16 slave trading ships arrived in Louisiana from the Senegal concession of the Company of the Indies. Now, during the same period, 6 came from Judah and 1 from Cabinda, Angola, Central Africa, and 5 out of the 6 ships from Judah and the lone ship from Angola had arrived by June 1721, as shown in the table. And Opelousas was already established by that time. Yeah, in 1720. Now, the French slave trade to Louisiana is well documented in France, in Africa, aboard ship, and in Louisiana, giving the unusual complete picture of various stages of the trade and throwing light upon questions that strictly quantitative data cannot always convincingly answer. And although the Company of the Indies made early, sustained efforts to supply Louisiana with slaves from its Senegal concession, most of the early voyagers went to Judah, and the first two voyages were organized by the Company of the West before it was incorporated into the Companies of the Indies. Now, L'Aurora and Le Duc de Maine left Saint Malo together during the summer of 1718 and picked up their cargo at Judah. Now, they were given nearly identical and detailed instructions to reveal the concern and properties of the slave traders. Now, the captains were instructed to try to purchase several blacks who knew how to cultivate rice and 3 or 4 barrels of rice for seeding, and which they were to give to the directors of the company upon their arrival to Louisiana. And rice is still a big thing here in Louisiana. Subsequently, rice became an important food staple in French Louisiana and was at times exported, which I believe it still is. You know, with the things that they say about rice or about the foods being fake, you know, coming from overseas that's being imported in, I buy Louisiana rice. I buy Louisiana rice and use Louisiana rice often. A lot of rice is grown in the backyard, you know. They use the crawfish fields. They use the crawfish fields, which look like little swamps, to grow the rice. It kind of reminds you of like when you're watching an old kung fu movie or something like that, how they be in the rice fields in the kung fu movie. That's what it kind of reminds you of, or it kind of reminds me of. Now, the captains were instructed to try to purchase 200 and 300 pounds of Brazilian tobacco from a Portuguese ship, and to give some of the tobacco to the slaves and the rest to the directors of the company in Louisiana. It is possible that the directors wanted samples of Portuguese tobacco to grow in Louisiana in an in an effort to complete with the 3rd grade tobacco in Bahia. That was the basis for the direct trade between Bahia and the Gulf of Benin, in which tobacco was exchanged for slaves. So the 2 pages I skipped gives you French slave, it gives you tables, and I guess it's a document. It gives you a table of the slave ships from Africa to Louisiana, the number of slaves that came, and what year they came in. And then another one is a document most likely off of the back of one of the probably from one of the slave ships, or what they claim to come from one of the slave ships. So it says from Judah, Wida, in 1719, they brought 200 slaves. In 1719, that's off of L'Aurora, and Le Duc de Maine brought 250 slaves in 1719. La Afra Queen in 1721 brought 182. Le Duc de Maine in 1721 brought 349. La Fortune in 1721 brought 303. And Le Diane in 1728 brought 468, and it gave a total from Judah or Wida, 1,748 slaves. They have from Cabinda in Angola, they brought 294, and from the Senegal concession between the years of 1720 and 1743, they brought 3,909, and for this, it's a calculated total of 5,951 slaves between the year of 1719 to 1743. But I think a lot of numbers, you know, for as much as people would like to talk about how there were so many people that died or so-called died, so say died, from the journey, I think those numbers are very skewed. What about the people they sold? What about the people they so say sold in the different stops that they made as well? So I also think that they, this, if they did bring people from Africa, how many of the natives, like the people of the Opelousas, the Attakapaws, and other Indian tribes or native tribes, did they take as slaves as well, or try to enslave? Now, the captains were to make their first stop between Cap de Monte and Cap Messeraind, and where they were to take on enough water and wood for the voyage to America. And they were to try to obtain more water at Judah and corn to feed the slaves. And along their way to Judah, they could stop off at Cap Luhu, Jacques Luhu, and Jacques Jacquet at Cape Saint Apolline to trade several blacks and some rice. But they were not to stay more than 2 or 3 days at each place. After leaving Cape Saint Apolline, they were to avoid the coast until they arrived at Judah, where they could stay 10 to 12 days and trade as many blacks as possible. And upon their arrival at Judah, they were to give the normal presents to the king. Now, La Aurora was estimated to be big enough and supplied with enough merchandise to trade 400 slaves. Le Duc de Maine, 500 to 600 on arriving in Louisiana, and there they were to dock at Dauphine Island. The instructions pay a great detail or a deal of attention to minimizing mortality, and the captains were to complete their trade as soon as possible, since the health of the blacks and the success of the voyage depended upon the time the slaves remained aboard the ship. And to avoid prolonging their voyage and exposing the slaves and the crew to disease, the captains were ordered to make no stops in Africa or America after leaving Judah, except to the island of Grenada in the West Indies, where they could take on wood, water, and whatever refreshments they were needed. Now they were to remain at Grenada for as short a time as possible. And the captain and officers and the surgeon were instructed to take good care of the health of the blacks, to prevent the black women from being debauched by the black men and the crew, and to clean and scrape the slave quarters every day to avoid rot. And they were to avoid purchasing slaves who were more than 30 years old or less than 8 years old. And they were to do their best to avoid pirates. Now, when Laura arrived at Judah on October 18, 1718, there were 3 English, 4 Portuguese, and 3 French ships in the harbor. There were 2 French, 1 English, and 1 Portuguese ship at the nearby Jacquin. 3 more English ships belonging to the South Sea Company and the Dutch ship were expected. And this large number of ships seeking slaves was causing a sharp rise in their price. Slaves were becoming so rare that the director of the French trading post feared that their ships would have to leave with only half of their cargo, and the Portuguese, bloated with the gold of Brazil, offered their stiffest competition. They were trying to monopolize the trade from Judah by offering exorbitant prices in gold. And in 1721, the Portuguese built the fortress Whydah, consolidating their predominance in the Gulf of Benin. And before La Aurora left Judah, the nearby trading post at Jacquin had become impractical for Europeans because of the hostility of the king of Ardres. And therefore, all the European ships stopped at Judah, aggravating the shortage of slave merchandise. La Aurora left Judah on November 30th of 1718, and with 201 slaves, half the number of the companies expected her to carry. And although the voyage from Judah to Louisiana took about 6 months, only 1 slave died, a very low loss in transit for such a long voyage. Yeah, 6 months, man. The cargo was rushed to Pensacola to work on fortification during the siege by Spain, and many of these slaves were reportedly lost when the Spanish took Pensacola. Now, after the voyage of 3 months from Africa to Louisiana, Le Duc de Maine, estimated to be able to carry 500 to 600 slaves, landed 250 in Louisiana. I wonder why La Aurora took 6 months and Le Duc de Maine took 3 months. I wonder. The sale of these slaves posed a problem that was to become chronic in Louisiana. As much as the colonists clamored for slaves, they could not pay for them in hard currency. And after 2.5 months, not one colonist had come forward to make an offer. And to avoid letting the merchandise deteriorate on Dauphin Island, the company agreed to accept payment in paper money issued by the new company, the Company of the West, as well as by Crozat, provided that this paper money was not honored. The purchasers would pay for the slaves in kind or return them to the company, and meanwhile, the colonists would assume all risk for them. So during 1720 and 1721, 3 voyages organized by the new company in the Indies picked up their cargo for Louisiana from Judah despite the severe shortage of merchandise there. Now, Africa Queen landed 182 slaves, and Le Duc de Maine, on its second voyage to Louisiana, landed 349, and both ships arrived in March 1721. Now, Benneville and Delorme complained that the company was badly served by the captains of these 2 ships, and both in quantity and quality of slaves purchased in Guyana. Most of the adults were old and sick. Furthermore, the ship's officers had been forced to exchange their best slaves at Grenada in order to obtain food from the officer in charge there. And Benneville claimed that the Captain Rezu of the Le Duc de Maine exchanged 10 good blacks for blacks who were habitual maroons, old or sick. And the captain of La Neraid, coming from Cabinda or Angola, was praised for the quality of his cargo, and it was noted that he refused to trade his slaves for supplies, making do with what he had, and the cargo was considered among the best assorted. But the slaves arrived in a weakened condition because he had to feed them biscuits. What kind of biscuits he fed them? Pillsbury. 28 of them died after landing, and the rest were sick. And there was no corn in Louisiana, and the slaves could not tolerate beans. And to prevent further mortality among these slaves, Benneville sent a boat to St. Dominic to purchase 600 barrels of corn. La Nereid was the only slave ship which came from Central Africa, Congo, Angola, during the French rule. And the slaves from Africa Queen and Le Duc de Maine were distributed to the colonists and the concessionaries in groups consisting of 2 men, 2 women, a boy, and a girl. There were not enough slaves to satisfy all those who had asked for them. However, when La Nereid arrived at the following month, the concessions took few slaves because they had nothing with which to feed them. And of the 825 slaves who arrived on La Africa Queen and Le Duc de Maine and La Nereid, 537 were sold to individuals and 35 died after landing, leaving 253 slaves. 40 of the remaining slaves were kept to work on the boats, going up the Mississippi River to the Illinois country. And the Negro Loins, that's a word, the Negro Loins, Grillons, Negroloins. Let's look it up. Let's see if the Terminator got it. Negrolons, Negroloins. Negrolons. Negrolon. Negrolon is a borrowing from French. Give me the definition. Negrolon is a term that historically refers to a small black child or a small person with African ancestry. It is often used to describe a representation of a black child in art or literature, particularly in European contexts. However, the term is now considered outdated and potentially offensive due to its racial connotation and the historical context in which it was used. The etymology of the word is negre, now considered derogatory, which means black or Negro, combined with the diminutive suffix ilon, and the term itself is a variant of negrito, which has similar connotations in Spanish and Portuguese. And the usage of the term reflects historical perspectives that objectified and marginalized people of African descent. Negrolon. The Negrolons, or boys, were sent to New Orleans to be sold to those who wanted them, and several Negris, Piece d'Indy, adult males, were to be kept for public works and to provide for their subsistence. Now, La Fortune, the final ship from Judah, before the trade focused almost entirely upon Senegal, arrived 2 months later, and it brought 303 fairly well assorted slaves, 205 men, 64 women, 24 boys, and 11 girls. And the cargo was to be distributed to the colonists, but some slaves were to be kept for the company. And if the slave trade from Senegal to Louisiana got a late start, it was not for lack of trying. Sound like they're trying to plant some food or something if we got a late start. As soon as the Company of the Indies took control of Louisiana, it devoted serious attention to supplying the colony with slaves from the Senegal concession. And on October 1720, its directors informed Senegal that it had sent Le Cote de Toulouse with well-assorted trade goods, principally to strengthen Gamal and to stimulate trade there. Now, Le Comte de Toulouse was to be sent quickly to Louisiana with a cargo of slaves. La Maréchale de Estries had picked up its cargo of wine, liquor, and food at Bordeaux, and this vessel was also to be sent to Louisiana with slaves. And any ship seized from interlopers was to be likewise sent to Louisiana with slaves, and its papers sent to France for confiscation proceedings. And after retaking Fort d'Arguin, the French were to enslave any Moors taken prisoner and send them to Senegal, keeping them in shackles, and transport them to Louisiana on the first available ship. Now, aside from the 4 ships sent to Judah during 1720, 3 ships were reportedly sent to Madagascar in June of the same year to load slaves for Louisiana. Now, few of these projects materialized, and there is no record of any interlopers seized and sent to Louisiana with slaves. There is no evidence that any ships from Madagascar arrived in Louisiana, and the Moors taken from Fort d'Arguin were not deported and enslaved. They were needed there to cut wood and to make salt. The French were afraid of antagonizing all the Moors if they enslaved those who had turned Arguin Island over to the Dutch, and the Moors called Set Morvel still had not forgotten the affairs of M. Ducasse, who had taken Moorish captives to the French islands. And instead of enslaving Moorish captives, the French decided to try to win over the nation with kindness, and in order to attract and control the Moors, it was proposed to hire Boli, a great Marabat Muslim holy man, and an interpreter at Portendic. Now, Le Rudy was the first slave trade ship that arrived in Louisiana from the Senegal concession, and it left Le Havre in December of 1719 and Gorée in May of 1720 with 130 slaves, arriving in Louisiana in July 1720 with 120 slaves. Now, Le Rudy would have carried 50 more slaves, but the Senegal concession did not have enough food available to embark them. And between November of 1720 and September of 1721, the Company of the Indies sent several ships to Senegal to bring slaves to Louisiana. Le Maréchal d'Estrees left Le Havre from Senegal on December 15th of 1720, loaded with most of the trade goods needed by several ships to buy slaves. And she was taken by the Algerians, who seized all her cargo, valued at 202,171 livres. As a result, I wonder how much that would be today. I wonder how much 202,171 livres would be today. How much today? That's the question. As a result, it was anticipated that most of the projected slave trade voyages to Louisiana would have to be abandoned, and the Algerians returned to Le Maréchal d'Estrees to Senegal, and where at 117,600 livres, and where she loaded 200 slaves and arrived in Louisiana with 196 slaves valued at 117,600 livres. Now, in November 1720, the Company of the Indies ordered l'Expedition to bring 100 slaves, Le Duc d'Orléans 300, and Le Comte de Toulouse 200, for a total, with those of on Le Maréchal d'Estrees of 800 slaves from Senegal to Louisiana. Only Le Maréchal d'Estrees arrived, and evidently there was effective pressure from the French islands to send slave ships there instead. And Le Duc d'Orléans went to Martinique, and Le Comte de Toulouse was subsequently ordered to Saint Dominique instead of to Louisiana. And although l'Expedition left Senegal on May 7, 1721, with 100 slaves for Louisiana, it was evidently diverted because the ship did not get to Louisiana until the next voyage from 1722 to 1731. Now, no slave ships arrived in Louisiana in 1722, and only two small ships, l'Expedition and Le Carrier de Bourbon, landed a total of 182 slaves in 1723. They make it seem like it was really nothing coming here. They make it seem like it was a small number of slaves, but for slaves to be here in the millions, this is such a small number. But I guess this is only what the French brought. It doesn't mention what the British or the Portuguese or the Dutch brought as well, if they brought any. The slaves from these ships came from Gambia, Gorée, and Bissau, and l'expedition left Gorée with 100 Beaux captives on June 13, 1723, while Le Courrier de Bourbon left for Gambia with trade goods and food and orders to bring back dry merchandise and captives to Gorée. I'll keep reading till we're going to get to the next page. We're going to get to the next page and we're going to stop there. Go ahead and mark where I'm going to stop. We're going to get to the next page and I'm going to stop. When l'expedition landed with 95 captives at Biloxi in October of 1723, there was general famine, and Benneville had gone off to fight the Natchez Indians. Only 15 slaves were sold to the colonists because few had Spanish piastres, which were required for payment, and the officials were satisfied not to sell the slaves because the company needed hard labor for its construction projects. The officials, however, appropriated their slaves and their labor for their personal use, and Chevalier de Loubois, the king's lieutenant at New Orleans, falsely claimed that all the slaves were sick from scurvy, and actually only about 7 or 8 of them were sick. The rest were beaux négres, grands benfiants, and these slaves were so beaux that the members of the Superior Council of Louisiana could not keep their hands off them. And each member took one to grow food and cut wood. And they gave several, what does beau? Beau mean? B-A-U-X. Beau? B-A-U-X. Let's see. They were so beau. They were so beau. So big. So good. Does beau mean? What does beau? B-A-U-X. B-A-U-X. Beau.
Beau.
A person's boyfriend or male admirer. She knows nothing about the romantic past of her beau. I want B-A-U-X. What is the original meaning of beau? Fine or beautiful. That makes more sense. These slaves were so fine or beautiful that the members of the Superior Council of Louisiana could not keep their hands off of them. Beau. Beau. Ooh, that thing beau. I might use that there. Ooh, that thing beau. That thing beau, yeah. I got a bull lady. When I say that. I have to remember that though. Beau. That thing beau. These slaves were so beau that the members of the Superior Council of Louisiana could not keep their hands off of them, and each member took one to grow food and cut wood, and they gave several to their friends. They swapped these beaux négres for their own and less valuable slaves. Now, Benneville had swapped the little girl for a full-grown woman, and Benneville had about 50 slaves on 2 plantations, and only 37 of whom he had purchased from the Company of the Indies. And it was suspected that the rest came from the cargo of L'Aurora, which was supposed to have been lost at Pensacola. Now, Jacques de la Chaise, commissioner ordinateur, was sent to investigate conditions in the colony, and he described Benneville, his relatives, and his Canadian favorites living in luxury and fancy houses, with many slaves obtained with ill-gotten gain, while most of the white population literally went hungry and naked. But fortunately for the slaves, Benneville and his friends were interested in seizing and displaying wealth, not in creating it. Therefore, the first half of the 1720s, there was a shortage of slaves to embark from the Senegambian concession. And although St. Robert had been optimistic in 1722, reporting to the company that he expected to be able to supply 2,000 captives a year without much trouble on the part of the Company of the Indies. But by June of 1723, the company was discouraged from sending more ships because it was uncertain how many slaves Galam would be able to supply that year. Now, St. Robert thought he would have 600 captives, big difference from 6,000, 600 captives. Beyond these, needed for the cargo of Le Maréchal de Estris. But the merchandise got ship worn, and officials of the Senegal concession had expected ships and collected more than 900 captives. But long detention in irons caused illness among them, and regardless of the care we gave them, more than 100 died, and 15 deserted at Gori and Joal and Gambia, wrote St. Robert. And the service ordered him to retain 50 Bambari and to leave 20 other Bambari at Gori and 20 at Arguin and 5 at Bissou. And he only had 750 captives left for the ships going to Cape Francois and Louisiana. And nor could he furnish corn for the ships, since he had only enough to provide for the subsistence of the inhabitants of the Senegal concession. And the captivity in Galam was at times so overcrowded that in hot weather, many slaves died. We'll stop there. That's the stopping point. Man, a lot of these French words, or at least how they are in italics. So I'm trying to pronounce them as best as I can. Some of it come back to me. Some of it. Or how to pronounce some of the words. At least I think I'm saying some of them right. But that was, how many pages did we read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 12 pages. Six front and back. This was part 6 of Africans in Colonial Louisiana by Ms. GWENDOLYN MIDLO Hall. You know, maybe they just didn't consider the Natchez and the other Indians, Choctaw, and the other so-called native Indians that they enslaved as well. Maybe they just didn't consider them the same people. Maybe what they considered the copper color people and the blacks, maybe they consider them different, but I think they are hand in hand. They go hand in hand. Just different shades of brown, maybe, most likely. And apparently different characteristics. Apparently the Indians didn't really want to do the work, but the people like the Bambari, which they liked the most, or the Wolof and the Bambari were more subservient, and being they said that they were used to being taken captive because they were always in war. So being that they were a lot of war captives, they didn't have a problem working for whoever took them captive. They didn't have a problem with it. And some of those they wanted more than others, especially the Wolof women. They wanted the Wolof women, is what they said. So we'll stop there. I think we did a good reading. You know, I stumbled on some words. I stumbled on a couple of words, especially names, trying to make sure the names are said correctly. I definitely stumbled on some of them. But we succeeded. We succeeded in reading, baby. We did our thing. We succeeded in reading. And we're going to continue to succeed in reading until we finish assassinating the book. We got that much left to go. Ooh. How many chapters does the book have? We're on chapter 3. 11 chapters. The book has 11 chapters. 11 chapters and the conclusion. And then it has appendix. Let's look at that right quick. Let's look at the appendix. Let's see what it is. The conclusion. Appendix A has a lot of numbers and stuff from the different ships. The different ships like Le Duc de Maine and the Le Fortune and Le Expedition. The ones that we have been reading about so far, their numbers, their years, their amount, when they arrived, where they arrived at, their departure dates, as well as where they departed from. That's in Appendix A. Appendix B is African nations and slaves accused of crimes in record and the Superior Council of Louisiana. Right now, it's a lot of Bambari. It's a lot of Bambari. I see one wall off as I'm glancing through it. Appendix C is the slaves found at Point Capit, which is down the road from me. Point Capit is down the road. The Point Capit inventories between 1771 and 1802. Oh, this is down the road. It's about where my mama stayed. It's about Point Capit is closer to Baton Rouge, closer to the Mississippi River. And they have the breakdown by origin, nation, sex, and percentage in population. And when I was looking through it, in Appendix C, it has breakdown of imported Creoles by birthplace. They took one female from Opelousas. They took one female. It says they took one female from Opelousas. So we won't be reading the appendix, any of the appendix for real. It's a bunch of numbers, dates. She has a note on sources, which I won't read as well, and the index. I think the index might have some good information. It's a lot of numbers as well. Okay, I see from just glancing right quick, I see Choctaw slaves. 115, 116, 117, 118 on mating among Africans and Indians. So yeah, we're going to stop at the conclusion, which will be at page 380. Right now we stopped on page 68. We still have over 300 pages left to go. But we'll push through. We'll push through the 11 chapters. The chapters are just probably long. 11 chapters ain't bad though. So we got this much left to read. And all this right here is the appendix. The appendix it's like 3 or 4 appendixes and the index. So we're not going to read any of that. So that leaves us with about 3 times what we already read. About 3 times what we've already read so far. But we'll keep pushing. We'll keep pushing. And maneuver our way through the book, man. And see what things we can learn and grow from. See what things we can learn and grow from. See what treasures we can find. Now, some of them statements, like I don't believe the statement of there might not have been no Africans here at that time, but no so-called blacks. I don't believe that. I don't believe that one. Because I believe the Indians were so-called blacks as well. So it is what it is. We succeeded. We succeeded. Let's do our 100 jumping jacks right quick. We worked our body. We worked our mind. Let's work our body one last time on the going out. For sure, Miss Miracle. For sure. For sure. We worked our body before we started. That is the routine we have been trying to be consistent with, even though about the last 4 or 5 lives, I have not been doing the routine. Man, my body was hurt. I was hurt. So I felt like I couldn't really do. I need to give my body a break for a little while. I felt like I couldn't really do the routine, but I read. I made sure I was successful at reading. And now, since I'm feeling a little better, I'm feeling a lot better. My body still hurt. Oh, boy, my thighs. Oh, Lord. From all that work I've been doing around in the garden. I've been raking up other people's yards to make compost and getting they cut grass so I can use as compost, or to start making compost or trying to make compost along with the other stuff that I'm doing. Man, I'm tired. Body is tired. Body is tired. Body is definitely well worked, but I don't mind that work. I don't mind that work because even though I might not get an exercise in, that is like my exercise. As long as I'm doing something. As long as I'm doing something out here. But hey, let's go ahead and get these last 100 jumping jacks out the way, and then we can shut it down for the night. We'll shut it down for the night. Now, I'm not going to say I'll be back on live tonight. I'll try to get up early tomorrow, though. If I can go to bed early tonight, that's an if, big if. Whether I go to bed early or not tonight, I'll make sure to get up and do Rising Scripts tomorrow because I know I missed it for the last 2 days as well, the same way I missed reading with SHILO. So I'll get up and do Rising Scripts tomorrow, where we'll pick back up in second Esdras. Where's my bag? Let's see where we stopped at. Yeah, we'll pick back up in second Esdras. I think we're going to be on second Esdras chapter 1. I think we're going to just be starting. I believe that's where we're at. We're just starting second Esdras. So we'll pick back up and finish or start second Esdras the same way we started chapter 3 and see how long we could get. Or I'll decide. I'll probably read this. I'll have to look at it better and see how many chapters or how big the chapters are. And we'll go ahead and read a couple of chapters for sure, at least 3 or 4 chapters, depending on how long the chapters are. If the chapters are long, we might only read 2 or 3. If the chapters aren't that long, we'll probably read as many as we can. 3, 4, 5. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I might be up for a while. We'll see. We'll see. I might do a carving live in a little bit. I might do some carving tonight because I haven't been carving. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of yard work. I've been out in the yard and I need to finish up this carving for my son. So I might get in there and try to take maybe for like an hour. I might do like an hour with the carving and see how much I could get done. I don't need to, but I guess, yeah, I need to. I need to go ahead and start moving some of this bottom part back or making it go at an angle so that way it can look like the ground, and then start figuring out, because I haven't been dealing with it. Start figuring out the little parts, what needs to go back, what needs to stay up front. By doing that also, that'll let me know how far back I need to push this at the angle to make it look like what I need it to look like. And then we'll work on we'll try to figure out the other parts of it. So I'll probably come back. I might come back later on. We'll see how I feel after I go get me something to eat. Give me some fruits or something right quick. Because I really haven't eaten nothing but a sandwich for lunch earlier. So, we'll see. I might do that later. But first things first. Before we succeed at anything else, let's succeed at these jumping jacks. Oh, Lord, I don't want to do them. Take my necklace off. I was tired of my necklace bouncing around on me. 100 jumping jacks. Hey, get off your big backs and let's do some jumping jacks. Jumping jacks is easy. I mean, easy enough. It's an easy way it's an easy place to start if you need a starting point. If you need a starting point, that should be easy enough for you to continue on a daily. I think jumping jacks is good. Push-ups are good too, but you know, not everybody has the upper body strength. And some people don't want to do what they need to do or do like man, if you can't do regular jumping, I mean if you can't do regular push-ups, start at the girl push-ups, you know, get on your knees and start there. Or get you some other things. Use the things you have available. You don't have to go buy all type of fancy equipment, man, for to help or to start getting your body back in shape. You could use your chair. Use your chair. Boys in jail, in prison, they use jugs of water. Get you 2 gallon jugs of water, and you can lift them however you want to lift them. You know, use your children. If you have children, bring your children into your exercise. I lift my sons all the time. Hey, they want to jump all on me. Shit, sometimes I let them jump on my stomach, and hey, they be trying to knock the damn wind out of me, man. All them boys be trying to knock the wind out of me, man. They be trying to hurt me, for real. They be trying to hurt me, but when I'm doing, sometime when I'm doing, but it reminds me of when I used to take karate class back in the day, and how when you be doing your sit-ups, they'd hit you in your stomach, or at least my karate instructor, my sensei would. He'd hit you in your stomach, or he'd make, you know, whoever your partner was, chop your stomach while you was doing your sit-ups. So use the things you have available with you, man. Don't make the excuses. Don't make the excuses. The time now is the time. If you have not started, if you have not done anything, now is the time to better yourself. You know, if you big, gain control of yourself. Don't let yourself go. Gain control of yourself and renew your mind and renew your body, man. You have the opportunity to. You have the ability to, you know. If you could see, hear, or whatever, you get just breath to breathe, man. Don't matter if you can't see or can't hear, you can still do stuff. There's people around here ain't got one arm, they got one leg, and they still moving around and doing everything. People ain't got no legs, got bigger arms and bigger chest than me. You know, so if these people can do it, then why can't you? Why can't I? Why can't we? You know, we can be what we need to be. It may be some hard times coming, and you need to prepare yourself now. Don't wait. Don't wait for shit to get bad. Don't wait for, you know, the zombie apocalypse. Now you need to run. You gonna get got by the zombies. You know, hey, I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but you know, I try to think, me personally, I try to think of things that I can use for motivation. Motivation to help push you to just do a little bit more. Do a little bit more than what you have been doing. If you've been sitting on your ass for so long, figure out a way to get off your ass. Figure out something that'll help you get off your ass to make a change in your life. Your health is wealth, is what they say. Your health is wealth. And I look at my grandfather, one of them, who is 92, still hunting, fishing, still in the garden, doing all these different things lively, still has all his mind and memory. You know, I want to be like that. I want to be like that, and if not better than that, you know, so I can live if it be the Lord's will for me to be. He always say he not gonna stop doing what he's doing until he's 200, and I can see he look like he got a lot of life left, and I pray that he does have a lot of life left. I want to have a lot of life in my time as well, but a lot of good life, a lot of good life. So that's going to start by you taking control of yourself and building yourself up better and keeping yourself going. The minute you stop doing certain things, that's when your body start, you know, reacting to you not doing nothing. You want to be lazy, your body going to start deteriorating. Your muscles going to become lazy. You're going to become soft and squishy. And I don't want to be soft and squishy. Couch potato, you know, any of that, you know. So, hey, get up, do something. Let's do something. 100, let's go. Let's get the 100 out the way so I can stop talking. 100 jumping jacks. Oh, man. And it bring me back to Army days. 1, 2, 3, 1. But I ain't doing it like that. We just gonna go 100 straight through. I'm gonna go 100 straight through. And all I ask of you to do is at least do 25 to 50, man. 25 to 50. Start off with that. You don't have to do 100. I built my way up to 100. That's where I'm at right now. I think 100 is good for me. But maybe you can only do 25 right now. Maybe that's all your body will allow you to do. Maybe you can only do 50 right now. But whatever it is, push yourself. Get off your ass. Make a change. Make a change. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 8, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 8, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 7, 8, 9, 80, 1, 82, 3, 84, 5, 86, 87, 8, 89, 90, 91, 2, 93, 4, 95, 6, 97, 8, 99, 100. Whoo! I feel like I did them bitches fast. But I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Man, you never know, man. I'm telling you. You don't know. You might need that. Especially for us, men. Man, you want to see virile, and I think that's the word. You want your vitality. You still want to be able to move with some locomotion when you're in the ocean. So you got to keep your body going, baby. You got to keep your body stretched out. So you don't pull a hammock when you're trying to hit her with the whammy. Don't pull a hammy, my boy. Don't pull a hammy. Shit. Yeah, you never know. You never know, I just always told myself that I cannot and I will not be a fat man. And I was big. I was big for me. I was big for me at about, I hadn't crossed 300 and I hadn't gotten to it, but I was close to it at 280. I was 280 and 280 was too big for me. 280 was too big for me, but I could tell that I wasn't doing the things that I was used to doing, the movements and I wasn't as active as I had used to be. I had let married life and other things keep me from moving like I needed to move. But, maybe it might even been stress. Who knows? I was eating late. I was in school at the time. I didn't get out of school until 10:30 at night. So I was coming home eating late, and I would be hungry, eating beans and rice and cabbage and big meals, and going to bed without doing anything, which was wrong with me. So changing your eating habits is definitely a thing you're going to need to do if you want to get the weight off you. And even just so you can stay sustainable for yourself, changing your eating habits, changing what you eat, what you introduce into your body. The same way you have to change what you introduce into your mind and what you allow into your mind. It'll be easier for you to redirect your mind and redirect your body when you make the changes you need for yourself. You know what you need. You know what you do on a daily. You know what you don't do on a daily. Don't lie and cheat yourself. Shit, be good to yourself. Be good to you. Because I'm trying to be good to me. Be good to me, baby. Because I want to be here. I want to see my sons grow old, and I still want to be able to be fathers. One day I'll be a grandfather, and as a I still want to be able to move around and climb up and down. And if I need to get on top of the house and fix the roof, I still want to be able to do these things. I still want to have a certain strength. I might still need to be able to protect, whether it be myself or others. I still want to be able to do that, do those things. So it starts with you. What are you going to do for you? You got to have a certain love for yourself and a certain want for yourself. I don't want to be a couch potato. I don't want to be a fat fucker. Yeah, that's what I call them. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. I was that. In my mind, I was that. Even though I might not have been that, when other people looked at me, in my mind, when I looked at myself, that's what I saw in myself. And I didn't want to be that for myself. So you have to not want to be things for yourself. It don't matter what anybody else says. What don't you want to be for yourself? What do you want to be for yourself? And the reading is something I want to be for myself as well. I want to be a better reader, you know. So I read. So I've been pushing myself to read, which I hate to do, but I'm getting better. I've gotten a lot better. Oh, I'm way better from the time I started. Oh, I'm way better, way better. Comprehension is way better. Understanding is way better. To be able to think through the things that are being spoken about is way better. The pronunciation of words is way better. The clearness of and smoothness of the reading is way better. The quickness of reading the books is way better. You know, so but it's one day at a time. One day at a time, and we keep pushing ourselves. Keep pushing yourself, and I'm gonna keep doing my thing. And we'll be back the next time on Reading with SHILO with part 7. This was part 6. We'll be back with part 7 and jump back into chapter 3. One book at a time, one session at a time, man. We'll be here. One page at a time, one chapter at a time, one paragraph at a time, one sentence at a time, here a little, there a little, line upon line, till we seek and find what treasures have been left behind. What lies can we expose? What truths can we uphold? What can we bring from the depths of the sea of pages from whatever book we're reading? But right now, the sea of pages is Miss Gwendolyn MIDLO Hall's Africans in Colonial, Louisiana. And I'm going to continue to roll through with them sea of pages like a pirate and see what booty can I steal. Give me that truth. Give me that. What treasure? Give me that treasure. Give me the treasures, man. Appreciate everybody that stopped by, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell your people, man. SHILO out here reading shit. We doing shit. We learning shit. We building shit. We growing shit, man. We about some shit to be better. Shalom, everybody. I hope y'all have a wonderful night. Hope y'all have a wonderful night. And thank y'all once again for stopping by to listen in with Reading with SHILO, man. I'm out here. And SHILO out.